Hello, magandang araw po sa inyo. At ngayon po pag-uusapan natin yung isa sa mga lumulutang na opinion ngayon ng ibang mga, sabihin na nating political analyst. At ilalagay po natin yun na title as our video today at pag-uusapan natin. I would say this would be like a two-part series, and first part I will connect this video to the second part ng Saldico expose scandal video. At bibigyan natin ng konting opinion yung mga nasabi ng iba nating political analyst about this issue, para po at least hindi nyo na kailangan pang manood ng TV. Dito na lang kayo sa channel natin at pakinggan po natin yung kanilang mga nasabi at nasabi ni Saldico from the second part of the video. Guys, tandaan nyo, you guys are all welcome to place your comment here and provide your feedback, and I will try my best to reply to your comment. And kung hindi pa kayo kasali sa ating channel, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Alright, susundan natin yung second part video that I took note from Saldico. Inumpisa niya po dito na nagtataka daw siya kung bakit hindi alam ng Pangulo yung insertion budget na sinabi niya daw po kay Secretary Mina Pangandaman. And also sinabi niya rin dito na everything is clear by the President basta importante pasok ang pondo na request ng Pangulo. At sinabi niya rin dito na masaya na ang Pangulo basta na ipasok na ang insertion ng Pangulo. So those are two of the informations that we get from his video about Secretary Mina Pangandaman at si Pangulo, that there is a directive from the President. Again, as to my previous video, I always say this: there's no way that we can prove this until we get the transcript or evidences na talagang may ganitong pag-uusap between the two of them. Correct? Because up until now, sinasabi pa rin ng kahit mga kritiko po ng Pangulo na there is no way that you can prove any allegations until there is an evidence. Alright. Sinabi niya rin dito, walang pera napunta sa akin, lahat ay napunta sa Pangulo. Isa po itong critical na information na kailangan po nating intindihin. Why? Remember, paano po ba nalaman ng madla na si Saldico po ay mayaman? Di ba po dahil sa mga social media post na pinopost ng kahit kanyang pamilya, yung biglang yaman niya sa kanyang salin, yung mga scandal na nadawit ang pangalan niya, 'di ba? So how would you say, or how would you tell me na ikaw mismo ay perfectly wala kang kasalanan sa ganitong issue? Remember, we're only talking about allegations na ginawa niya that does not have any evidence. It was not sworn under oath. So paano natin malalaman kung lahat yon ay totoo? Tapos ngayon sasabihin mo sa akin na lahat ng aligasyon mo ay pawang sa Pangulo lang at walang katotohanan na ikay ay kumuha ng kahit 5 duling dito sa ganitong scandal. So ang hirap paniwalaan. Then sinabi niya rin dito, aking mga security nag-deliver papunta sa bahay nila, Speaker at ang Pangulo. Another thing that I would disagree with this situation is that dahil nga hearsay ito, kung totoo na yung mga security niya or aid niya ang nag-deliver ng mga sinasabing pera sa bahay ng Pangulo at ng Speaker, why is it we cannot see any record of transportation na ginamit, any security camera? For sure, Speaker and the President yon, for sure malalaman natin kung may pumasok ba talaga doon sa bahay na yon, just for evidences, di ba? Pero wala pa rin tayong nakita. Then sinabi niya din dito, totoo din po ang sinabi ni Gutesa na nag-deliver siya na ng pera. Ito yata yung after niya i-prove yun, ito yung panahon na nag-provide din sila ng picture ng mga luggages. There's multiple evidences online na sinasabi daw yung mga luggages kabibili lang daw sa department store kasi iba daw may price tag. So there's multiple issues about it. Pero para sa akin kasi, still kahit may picture ka ng mga ganon, it doesn't make it like as an evidence kasi yung buong information, buong statement is not under oath. So it doesn't give a weight on the credibility or validity nung statement na sinabi niya. Yun nga, tapos sinabi niya rin dito na nagtanong daw siya sa DPWH kung magkano daw ang SOP or Standard Operating Procedure na ibibigay daw sa presidente. Tapos nasabi daw po na ang Standard Operating Procedure ay at least 25% ng 100 billion pesos para daw kay Pangulong Marcos. And again, kung may totoong SOP na ginagawa ang Kamara para sa request ng isang Pangulo, my only issue about it is papaano natin malalaman na nagkaroon ng ganong pag-uusap. Kasi pwedeng kahit ako, kung ako man yung nasa kalagayan ni Saldico, kung meron pag-uusap in between someone or someone else, paano ko mapuprove sa kausap ko na nag-usap kami? Kasi pwedeng sinasabi ko lang yun to project an authority over another person. Kasi pag in-invoke mo yung authority ng mas mataas sa'yo na posisyon, syempre yung kausap mo, they will think na, oh, okay, gagawin natin to. So how would you know? What would be the evidence? Again, babalik na naman tayo sa evidence. Kaya parang ang hirap intindihin ito eh. And then, then parang china-challenge na ngayon ang Senado, which is we understand na ang pwedeng kumatawan para mag-imbestiga sa issue na to ay si Senator Panfilo Ping Lacson. So sabi niya dito, nananawagan daw po siya sa Senado, quote and quote, I would say Senator Ping Lacson, para daw po imbestigahan yung 100 billion insertion funds ni Pangulong Marcos. Okay yon kasi you're challenging the institution to push forward to investigate, but the big question is, ikaw ay iniimbitahan para dumalo doon sa flood control project last time, pero hindi ka nagpakita, even kumbaga hindi ka nagpakita in person. Yes, I understand there was a talk between Senate and him to make like a Zoom, kaso nga lang ang problema, kapag ka nagsisinungaling po ang isang tao under oath, pwede po kasi siya ma-contempt, ma-detain sa Senate property. Kaso kapag naka-zoom ka, they can only mute him, which is unfair. Kasi we're talking about a legal process here na kailangan at least you attend and you tell the truth 100% under oath. So I would say to Saldico, yes, you are challenging the Senate, but have you even tried challenging yourself na bumalik ng Pilipinas at magpakita under investigation, 'di ba? Meron din po ako idadagdag dito. One of the there was a show wherein Attorney Sal Panelo, alam po natin na isa po siya sa mga close supporter po at legal counsel ni former President Duterte. He was in a show wherein meron po siyang kabatuhan, ka-argument ng issue about what's going on in the palace in Malacanang. And also, he was asked first, ano daw po yung kanyang mga opinion about sa mga nasabi ni Saldico sa video na nakita natin. So, isa sa mga sinabi niya dito is that, parang tinanong siya about the flood control. Bakit daw ngayon lang pumutok yung flood control issue na kung ito ay matagal na issue. Parang sabi niya, yung flood control issue hindi nag-start sa panahon po ni Pangulong Duterte kasi wala. Tapos sinigundahan niya pa to na noong panahon ni Duterte, every mainstream media daw po ay anti-Duterte. So kung meron daw pong issue about this during the time of the Duterte, dapat daw po nalaman na. And then parang ang punto kasi doon, sa aking palagay po, and I think you guys would have a different comment or the same comment as mine. Personally, wala po akong nakitang retraction or a negative comment against the sitting president or even the government at that time ng panahon ni Duterte. And I remember lahat ng nagdi-disagree sa Pangulo, specifically ABS-CBN, pinasara nila. And that's another thing that was questioned to Attorney Sal Panelo dito sa show na to. Ang sabi niya, ni minsan daw po hindi nangialam ang Pangulo sa ABS-CBN shutdown. And I personally believe there is no truth about sa sinabi ni Attorney Sal Panelo. I really think that there is a big push from the government at that time, specifically from former President Duterte, to shut down ABS-CBN. And I firmly believed it. It never ever happened na i-shut down mo yung isang mainstream media company just because they disapprove something, for the sitting president. Siguro mali ako, and you guys have your different comment. You can put your comments down below, but I really believe more than as close as 99% na the push to start it and to end ABS-CBN franchise is due to the government, due to former President Duterte. Sinabi rin po ni Attorney Sal Panelo dito, kasi tinanong din siya na bakit daw po nagkakaroon ng sinasabi nating shake up sa gobyerno? Bakit daw po magkakaroon na naman ng balasahan? Ang sabi niya dito, it's because of sabi niya is to check the loyalty of the people, kasi ang punto niya dito is the secretaries or the alter ego ng Pangulo. So if you gonna see it, if kung si Marcos daw po yung sasagot directly kay Saldico, it portrays weakness as the president. So kinakailangan niya yung mga sekretary niya is supporting the president 100%. So kinakailangan niya magkaroon ng tinatawag nating loyalty check. So yung parang sinasabi niya just to safeguard the president, the office of the president, about this corruption issue. So parang pinupunto niya doon sarcastically na PBBM is smart. Hindi mo masasabing ang Pangulo ay walang alam sa politika, kasi as he said, he can use people under him to help him, parang to cover up an issue instead of answering directly, 'di ba, kay Saldico. Pwede niyang gamitin yung mga sekretary niya to shield him from the issue. Tapos sinabi niya rin dito, inopen up niya yung ano ba yung magiging paraan para quote and quote ma-resolve yung issue ng galit ng tao. Ang sabi niya dito is he want a regime change, or people wanted a regime change. Ang taong bayan daw ay galit na. So there's no point para pilitin pa ang tao. Galit daw na ang tao, kaya daw parami na ng parami yung nagrarally, and he feels that it will turn into a people power. Ang question ko lang sa sarili ko, if these things are true, that the people is so freaked out, they're mad, they want change. My question is this: if we want a regime change, sino po yung papalit? And as per Constitution, pagka bumaba ang presidente, tatay yung presidente, ang kasunod na presidente ay yung vice president. My question is, does everyone, that's everyone, or you guys, you can tell, you can tell me on your comments down below, do you want Vice President Sara as the next president if bumaba si Pangulong Marcos? And why? Kasi para sa akin po, hindi ako 100%, hindi po ako papayag na siya ang uupo. Maaring iba na lang po. You know why? It's because of kahit si Vice President Sara Duterte, marami rin po siyang loophole, maraming issue sa kanya. Specifically, si former president naka-tie up sa kanya. It's a political baggage na hindi niya maalis. Second, marami siyang mga ginawa against the president while she's sitting vice president na hindi dapat niya ginawa. Specifically, nung panahon na nawala po si Pangulong Marcos at pumunta siya ng ibang bansa, we saw that there were some instances na sumali pa siya at sumuporta siya sa KOJC na rally. At that time, noong panahon po na aarestuhin or pinagahanap si Quiboloy at that time, 'di ba, mas nag-focus siya na umattend sa rally at that time, kaya maraming taong nagagalit kasi lumalagay na porket wala yung presidente sa Pilipinas, instead of you governing the whole Philippines as the representative of the president, kasi wala nga siya sa Pilipinas, may panahon ka pang umattend ng rally. And honestly, I would say that that is unfair. Kasi at the end of the day, you're the vice president. You're not just an opposition icon ng administrasyon. You are the vice president. So kung wala ang presidente, you should stand up as the president of the Philippines, kapag wala yung presidente. That's how it is. And she failed to represent the Philippines at that capacity noon panahon na yon. Kaya I personally, I don't believe na she's worth of that position. Okay, isa din po sinabi ni Attorney Sal dito is that he also is suggesting na magkaroon ng revolutionary government. And ito daw po yung mga bagay na gusto niya mangyari if in case po pwedeng ma-exercise yung extra constitutional powers ng presidente. One, gusto niya po ma-abolish ang Kongreso, the lower and higher houses. Pangalawa, ipakulong daw po lahat kahit anak. Tapos pangatlo, ibalik daw po si former President Duterte. At pang-apat, gumawa daw po si President Marcos ng reforma. This is way extreme sa pananaw niya. Ako po, naniniwala ako na there's a reason behind why yung federalism na pinupush ng Duterte administration at ang mga kaalyado niya, meron pong rason bakit hindi siya na-push through sa Congress. And I really believe there's also a link between federalism that they wanted to push and also yung CONCON or CHACHA, Constitutional Convention. Bakit hindi siya ma-push? Kasi alam naman natin, there is no appetite. Even with politicians, even with people na palitan ng konstitusyon, yes, maraming mga talking heads magsasabi na, oh, we want this, we want changes. But we know for a fact, every time, every moment na magkakaroon ng plano about dyan, laging nagfe-fail. Bakit? Kasi wala naman talagang may gusto. Pinipilit lang in public, sinasabi in public, pero ang resulta, we don't like any change. At sa akin, ang pananaw ko, the reason why we don't like any change is because it is working, both with politicians and both with us. 'Di ba? Kasi if we really don't need yung constitution na meron tayo sa Pilipinas, naniniwala ako na matagal na napalitan yan. Pero hanggang ngayon hindi mapalitan. So it means there is no appetite to change anything. 'Di ba? So sinagot niya rin po dito na itong mga rally na to is not to destabilize. The rally is parang is a call to action for the government, para daw po kalampagin ng gobyerno na kumilos sa mga issue na to. Para sa akin, it's a total lie, because hindi naman sinisigaw ng rally na magkaroon ng transparency at saka change lang eh. Maraming mga DDS supporter, maraming Duterte supporters ang nananawagan na magkaroon ng regime change, na bumaba si Pangulong Marcos. And I certainly and 100% believe that the DDS supporters want VP Sara to be the president, and that's it. No changes on anything. They just want to, you know, to put the throne, ika nga. Yun yung sinasabi ng karamihan, na gusto lang nilang koronahan ang Vice President Sara Duterte para maging presidente. That's it. There's no other ways and means. And that's why yung sinasabing destabilization, I really believe that's one part of their cause to do it. Kasi kung gusto mo ng transparency, edi pag-usapan ng transparency, pero you asking for a presidency to go down para mapalitan, that's a no-brainer, ika nga. Tapos pag-usapan din natin yung sinabi ni Professor Lester Balmetero. Isa po siyang political analyst. So tinanong siya about sa mga recent updates about sa situation kay Saldico, pati yung sinasabi nilang shake up sa gobyerno dahil magkakaroon po ng quote and quote parang balasahan na naman sa gobyerno. And he said that parang sinabi niya dito na nagkakaroon na tayo ng visible divorce between the Uniteam faction. One is from the Marcos side and one is for the Duterte side. And sabi niya dito na yung rally is to call for accountability, pero the main question is, why is it the Iglesia ni Cristo endorsed Uniteam at the first place? And it makes sense. Ibig sabihin, ano yung ina-ask mo to change a regime if at the very first place you endorse this team? Doesn't it like parang sounding hypocrite? Kasi ikaw ang nagsabi sa mga botante na iboto to dahil ito, tapos ngayon gusto mong sabihin ulit sa botante na magkaroon ng pagbabago, magkaroon ng bagong liderato. Tama ba yun? Diba? And sabi niya din dito, everything was carefully planned. Sabi niya dito, 2 days before na lumabas yung video ni Saldico, nagsalita na si Senator Marcos, at ang parang binibida niya at the time sa mga interview niya is that magsasalita na si Saldico or magkakaroon siya ng bagong statement. And that's why parang nako-connect na everything is like planned in connection with this rally. Another question na gusto niyang malaman, he said that bakit daw po ang INC dyan sa rally po nila ay nag-open up sa other groups para po sumali sa rally na ito. At napansin nga po natin at mapapansin nyo po, kasi hindi ganun kalakas ang epekto ng mga issue ngayon laban sa gobyerno po or laban kay Pangulong Marcos. And I think INC is not delivering what they promised to do. That's why kung iisipin mo, it's very difficult to think na bakit kailangan nila buksan yun. INC has the biggest population of people that worship the church. So bakit kinailangan pa nila ng ibang grupo pumasok, 'di ba? Pinaliwanag niya rin po dito sino ang winner at loser. At this time, sabi niya dito, the winner is the Duterte, but the loser is not the Marcos but Saldico. Bakit? Kasi kung makikita nyo po, before, halos maraming parang halos maraming mga masasakit na salita at mga bagay na nasabi si Pangulong Duterte before kay Saldico. Tapos ngayon, to some reason, there was a change of heart, ika nga, at parang nagsishift siya towards the Duterte camp. So, probably it's because of this is his last option. And his last option, dahil siguro he's trying to survive, is to jump ship. Kaso, ang nagiging problema dito, the whole fiasco ng mga statement niya does not make any sense because of lacking of evidence, 'di ba? Tinanong din po siya dito, why is there a upcoming government shake-up, yung balasahan? Ang sabi niya dito, politically, it's because of the issue of trust and loyalty sa mga tao sa baba. Gusto sigurado malaman ni Pangulong Marcos kung sila ba ay tatayo pa rin behind the president. Especially, we all know that the president's approval rating or trust rating ay bumababa since he started, and maybe this would be like a call to action by the president para makita niya kung, you know, paano niya isosolve yung issue na to within his own ranks. Kasi kung hindi daw po ma-address ito on a timely manner at in a proper way, this might affect him, at sabi niya dito, the president might be a lame duck president, na ang gagawin na lang ng presidente is to appeal to the people, 'di ba? Yung galit nila mahupa, or to appeal with the politicians na hindi sila mag-jump ship. Kasi ang sabi niya dito, ang mga politiko right now, there are a lot of like talks about jumping ship to another alliance because parang nakikita nila na may konting effect ito sa Pangulo. Pero syempre, these are only things that we all can speculate. Pero sabi nga niya is that dapat ngayon pa lang meron tayong makuwang resulta, or else magkakaroon ng shake up kahit sa party ng Pangulo. He also reiterate na dapat magkaroon tayo ng at least high profile na mapapakulong. Why? Kasi kapag low profile lang yan ng mga tao, hindi mo, alam mo naman politics is game of perception. So kapag low profile yan, it doesn't give that effect that you want for the people. So if it is high profile people, mas malaki epekto nito at masha-shape mo yung narrative sa tao. Especially, alam na natin na lahat tayo, we are tired of waiting kung ano mangyayari dito sa issue na to. And hopefully, sana talaga magkaroon talaga ng resulta na may maipakulong. Okay, tinanong din siya dito, ano naman din yung masasabi niya about the PBBM resign call to action sa mga rally against the government. Ang sagot niya is mostly question. Number one, sabi niya, bakit INC, KOJC at JIL at DDS supporters lang ang right now nagrarally against the government? Bakit walang ibang grupo? Una. Pangalawa, sabi niya, ganun ba talaga kalakas ang epekto ng mensahe na ipinararating ng kabilang grupo against the government? And pangatlo, handa na ba ang tao sa alternative kung bababa ang Pangulo ngayon? Handa ba ang tao kay Sara? So yun yung tatlong questions na tinanong niya doon sa tanong sa kanya. Kasi parang ang punto niya dito, tulad ng sinabi natin kanina, wala pang appetite ang tao to actually jump in to these rallies because yung alternative option is it's not yet been shown na ina-approve siya ng maraming tao. Yes, probably sa loob ng echo chamber ng mga DDS, probably they like Sara. Pero ako personally, I don't like Sara. Why? Kasi may political baggage yung pamilya niya. Siya may political baggage din siya. Marami siyang issue before. At kahit ngayon bilang vice president. So hindi ako personally, kung ako boboto, hindi pa ako handa. And I'm not satisfied to something na wala namang wala namang pruweba sa mga aligasyon na galing kay Saldico. Kaya political change, if the alternative maging presidente si VP Sara, I'm not yet ready. Tinanong din siya, what would be the best response from the Malacanang? Sabi niya dito, hindi kailangan sumagot ng Malacanang kasi inconsistent yung mga naririnig natin from Saldico. Okay lang daw na yung spokesperson o yung secretary ni Pangulo magsalita kasi yung epekto nun is just within them Iba pa rin ang epekto kapag ang Pangulo na yung sumagot. Siyempre yung bigat ng statement ng Pangulo, iba pa rin yun, di ba? And also, kapag sumagot ang Pangulo, hindi natin mapagkakaila na magiging defense mechanism yun ng Pangulo at yun din ang pwedeng gamitin ng mga detractors niya towards him. So for now, dahil wala pa namang pruweba yung sinasabi ni Saldico, the best way possible, sabi nga niya, is that for him not to speak. Sinabi niya rin dito yung iniisip niya yung ano mangyayari in coming weeks. Will there be a change of alliances sa mga politiko? Sa mga grupo din, will there be change in alliances also? And sabi niya na 2008 will depend on what can happen on this situation, ano magiging approval or trust rating ng Pangulo after this year. Para makita natin ano yung magiging picture starting from next year, kung anong mangyayari sa 2028. And honestly, I believe that kasi wala namang, ako personally hindi ko mapipredict kung bababa pa lalo o tataas ang approval or trust rating ng Pangulo kasi this is somehow very crucial sa Pangulo. Why? Kasi I think about kung magmadali ang Pangulo sa kaso about this, pwede rin maging disadvantage sa kanila kasi baka ma-technical sila at walang mangyari sa kaso. Kapag ka naman binagalan, mag-aantay na naman yung mga tao and then they might complain about it. So it's not a yes or no situation. I think either or, meron at merong masasacrifice pagdating. I think either approval rating or shift of alliances against president. That's what I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Sabi niya rin dito, hindi, kung may part 3 ang expose ni Saldico, hindi pa natin alam kung ito'y magiging effective as a messaging tool ng mga Duterte against the president. We still gonna see how many people gonna attend these rallies. Also, pinag-usapan din yung loyalty check ng AFP. Alam natin na si General Browner nagsalita na he and the whole team of AFP generals are confident enough na masasabi niya na they support the government at wala silang balak magkaroon ng military junta or martial law or whatsoever. And also parang sinasabi niya na parang he's only giving his own opinion na sinasabi niya na ang AFP ay hindi sinusuporta ng mga Duterte dahil daw sa punto na ang mga Duterte ay pro-China. Alam naman natin ang ating military is westernized in nature. So they don't go further as going to the alternative, which is Sara Duterte. Pero sabi nga, it's only inside the military, pero hindi pa natin sure kasi wala naman nagsasabi sa military about this issue. Pero we can only assume na maybe that's one part of it, as what he said. Tinanong din siya kung about sa destabilization, ang sabi niya dito na um, it might not be a big effect sa gobyerno kasi hindi pa ganun ka-effective yung messaging in terms of kung gagamitin daw yung kay Saldico, so there's no effect. And then alam naman natin kung gagamitin mo rin ang mga retired AFP, most definitely hindi na ganun katindi influence nila sa mga active AFP officers. Yes, may makukuha kang may makukuha kang iilan, pero yung epekto nun kumpara sa ikaw ay active general, it's still different. Kaya parang pinupunto niya dito, there's still some difficulty kung retired AFP general ka versus an active AFP general. Tapos pinaliwanag niya rin dito na right now ang mga active sa mga rally are the Generation Z, Gen Zs, especially sa mga social media. Nakikita niya daw po yung pagkilos ng mga Gen Zs ngayon, madali, mabilis, at marami. Kasi ngayon daw po, mas organized na, and lahat nasa social media na. So, madaling mag-reach out sa maraming tao to form rallies or to organize rally. And sinasabi niya dito na inaantay niya kung ano pong mangyayari sa November 30th. At alam naman po natin may paparating na rally. It's a rally for the, if I'm not mistaken, yung trillion march ata po yun, na ino-organize ng isang bayan. So tinitingnan natin kung yun po ba ay magkakaroon ng malaki epekto in terms of this issue. So yun po, ito po, magtatapos na po tayo sa part 1 natin. Kung nandito pa rin po kayo, nasubaybayan nyo po tong video na to, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe sa ating YouTube channel. At wag nyo po kalimutang mag-comment dyan. I'll try my best to answer it. And sundan nyo po yung part 2 ng Palace Under Siege video natin. Maraming salamat po and thank you po.